Marcus Ice Winters leaned back in his chair aboard the Mercenary command vessel Starcutter, his weathered features illuminated by the holographic contract display. 20 years of combat experience told him something was off about this job. The payment was too good. 50 billion galactic credits to push back against human colonial expansion. Their defensive capabilities are minimal. The Vraxian commander, Zexthor, gestured with his upper arms, while his lower set manipulated the star chart. These humans have only recently achieved faster-than-light travel. Their colonies are vulnerable, and their military technology is centuries behind the galactic standard. Jessica Hayes, monitoring the meeting from her hidden position in Earth's intelligence network, felt her heart race as she recorded the gathering. 17 different mercenary companies had united for this operation, the largest coalition since the Centauri Wars. She needed to get this information back to command immediately. What about these reports of their ground forces? A Serpentine mercenary leader asked, their scales shifting colors with concern. The scouting party we sent to their colony on New Montana never returned. Zexthor dismissed the concern with a casual wave. A navigation error, nothing more. Their ships likely got lost in warp space. These humans still use primitive kinetic weapons, projectiles, and explosives. Our shield technology will render them harmless. Admiral Blake Thompson received Hayes' transmission in his underground office at Luma Command. His face remained impassive as he reviewed the intelligence, but a small smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. So they think kinetic weapons are primitive, do they? He murmured, reaching for the secure quantum communicator. Time to activate Protocol Thunder. Back on the Starcutter, Winter's combat implants were screaming warnings at him. The biosynthetic enhancement in his left eye, a souvenir from the Rigel campaign, detected unusual energy signatures from the human colonies. I'm seeing some anomalies in these scans, he interrupted the briefing. These energy readings don't match known colonial patterns. Your concern is noted, but unnecessary, the Vraxian commander continued. Our first target will be their outermost colony. We'll strike in 3 standard days. Once our full fleet assembles, the humans won't know what hit them. In that moment, every computer screen on the Starcutter flickered. For just a second, a symbol appeared. The stylized eagle of Earth's Special Operations Command. Most dismissed it as a power surge, but Winters felt ice in his veins. He'd seen that symbol before, 5 years ago, when a human Special Forces team had decimated his best squad during a routine piracy suppression mission. Hayes encrypted her final report with trembling hands. The mercenaries had no idea what they were walking into. Earth had spent the last 50 years preparing for this very scenario, carefully maintaining the facade of technological inferiority while building something far more dangerous. Admiral Thompson pressed the final authorization key, and deep within every human colony, hidden bunkers began to power up. Decades of reverse-engineered alien tech, combined with humanity's mastery of primitive warfare, were about to change the galaxy's understanding of what made a species truly dangerous. The contract is accepted, Zexthor announced triumphantly. We launch in 72 hours. The humans will learn their place in the galaxy. As the meeting dispersed, Winters caught a transmission fragment on his neural interface, a human voice, speaking in clear, unencrypted standard galactic. To all Earth forces, the wolves are at the door. Protocol Thunder is now active. Show them why humanity never stopped preparing for war. Winters looked out at the assembled mercenary fleet, the most powerful private military force in known space, and for the first time in his career, he felt something he hadn't experienced since his first combat drop. Fear. The hunt was about to begin, but he was no longer sure who was the hunter and who was the prey. Lieutenant Commander Ashley Parker stood at the New Montana colony's hidden command center, 3 kilometers below the surface. The mercenary fleet had just dropped out of FTL, their ships casting long shadows across the planet's twin moons. Her neural interface displayed the combat data in real time. All defense grids are active. Colonel James "Mad Dog" Rodriguez reported, his scared face bathed in the blue glow of holographic displays. Orbital mines are armed and tracking. Ground forces are in position. He paused, a wolfish grin spreading across his face. Let's show them why you don't poke the bear. The first wave of mercenary dropships entered the atmosphere, their advanced shields gleaming against the morning sky. Inside one of those ships, a Vraxian commander watched with satisfaction as their sensors showed no active defense systems. "See, primitive as expected," he announced to his troops. "Their colony's only protection is a simple kinetic barrier." His words were cut short as the first railgun round punched through their shields like they weren't even there. The hypersonic projectile, manufactured from materials the mercenaries had deemed obsolete, tore through 3 more dropships before its energy dispersed. Target hit. Marine Sergeant Sarah Cooper reported from her concealed artillery position. Switching to salvo fire, the ground beneath her feet trembled as the hidden battery of obsolete weapons opened up. Each round accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed. The mercenary fleet's response was immediate and devastating, or would have been, if their energy weapons hadn't been passing harmlessly through holographic projections of colony buildings. The real structures were deep underground, protected by layers of smart matter armor and quantum-lock shields reverse-engineered from a dozen different species. "Enemy forces are deploying ground troops," Parker announced, her voice steady despite the chaos unfolding above. "Initiate Protocol Thunderstrike." Across the battlefield, mercenary ground forces advanced with confidence, their personal shields rated to stop any known energy weapon. They weren't rated for what came next. The ground erupted as combat frames, powered armor that Earth had specifically designed to appear crude and primitive to alien sensors, burst from hidden bunkers. Leading the charge was Master Sergeant Michael Wrecker Thompson, his frame's hydraulics whining as he brought its mass driver gauntlets to bear. "Remember your training," he roared over the combat net. "Close quarters combat. They're expecting us to fight at range. Let's get personal." The mercenaries' formation broke as 30 tons of angry human-piloted war machines slammed into their lines. Their energy shields, designed to deflect plasma and laser fire, did nothing against the simple physics of high-speed impact and kinetic force. In orbit, the mercenary command ship watched in horror as their ground forces' vital signs began winking out by the dozens. Their sensors, calibrated for detecting energy weapons and shield harmonics, were nearly useless against the bewildering array of primitive technology the humans were employing. "Fall back." The order came too late for many. The humans had seeded the battlefield with programmable smart mines, tech that appeared as simple explosive devices but contained computing power that rivaled anything in the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Parker watched the tactical display with grim satisfaction. "Launch the interceptors," she ordered. "Show them why Earth never abandoned the art of dogfighting." From hidden hangars, squadrons of Earth's latest fighter craft screamed into the sky. They appeared as simple atmospheric craft to enemy sensors, right until they engaged their true drives and began pulling maneuvers that should have turned their pilots to paste. "This is Red Leader," Captain Jennifer "Ghost" Wilson's voice crackled over the command net. "Engaging enemy ships. These folks never heard of inertial dampeners, have they?" The battle for New Montana had begun in earnest, and the mercenary forces were learning a harsh lesson. Humanity hadn't spent the last century playing catch-up. They'd been sandbagging, waiting for someone to make exactly this mistake. As the sun set on the first day of combat, the mercenary fleet had lost a third of their ground forces and a quarter of their ships, and this was just one colony. They had no way of knowing that the other two would be even worse. Navy SEAL Team Leader Michael "Ghost" Anderson crouched in the dense undergrowth of New Montana's northern forest, his active camouflage system making him nearly invisible to both electronic and organic detection. Through his advanced combat optics, he watched the mercenary supply convoy wind its way through the mountain pass. "Sierra Team in position," he whispered into his neural link. "Romeo Team, status." "Romeo holding position at waypoint Charlie." Captain Sarah Whisper Martins replied from her team's location 2 kilometers ahead. "The enemy still hasn't detected the sonic disruptors we planted along their route." The mercenaries had adapted their tactics after the initial disaster, switching to night operations under the assumption that humans, as a diurnal species, would be at a disadvantage. They hadn't counted on generations of special operations experience fighting in every conceivable condition. "Contact in 5, Anderson transmitted. "Remember, we're not here to destroy them. We're here to make them question every shadow." The lead vehicle in the convoy, a hovering transport loaded with shield generator parts, passed the first sonic disruptor. To the alien troops, the device appeared as simple background radiation. The reality was far more insidious. "Executing Operation Banshee," Martins announced. With a signal, the disruptors activated, emitting frequencies that played havoc with the mercenaries' enhanced senses. Their superior alien biology, usually an advantage, became a liability as the carefully calibrated sound waves triggered primal fear responses in their brains. From the trees, combat specialist Rebecca Fox Mitchell's psychological warfare package went live. Holographic phantoms, based on each species' deepest cultural fears, began flickering at the edge of their vision. "By the void," one mercenary commander transmitted, his voice shaking. "How are they in our heads? These are supposed to be primitive warriors." Anderson's team struck from multiple directions, using short, controlled bursts from their kinetic weapons. The rounds weren't meant to kill, just to pierce shields and cause panic. The real damage was psychological. "They're everywhere," a mercenary gunner screamed, firing wildly into the darkness. Their energy weapons lit up the night, but hit nothing except trees and the occasional hologram. "Echo Team, execute Phase 2, Anderson ordered. From their hidden positions, the 1st Ranger Battalion launched their attack. Instead of advanced energy weapons, they used modified crossbows firing smart metal bolts, weapons that were completely silent and invisible to energy scanners. The mercenary forces, already rattled by the sonic attack and psychological warfare, broke formation. Their training, based on conventional warfare, had never prepared them for this kind of combat. "This is impossible," the convoy commander transmitted to their fleet. "They're using primitive weapons, but they're inside our decision loop. Every countermeasure we try, they're already 3 steps ahead." Mitchell's voice echoed through their communication systems, a message carefully crafted to exploit their psychological state. "You brought war to our homes. We've been fighting wars since we could walk upright. Welcome to human warfare." The night dissolved into chaos as the mercenaries tried to fight an enemy they couldn't see, couldn't track, and couldn't predict. Their advanced technology, instead of being an advantage, had become a curse. Every system they relied on was being turned against them. By dawn, the convoy was in ruins, not from direct combat, but from the sheer psychological strain. The few survivors who made it back to their lines told stories that spread through the mercenary ranks like a virus. Stories of humans moving like ghosts, of weapons that shouldn't work but did, of an enemy that seemed to know their every move before they made it. Anderson watched the sun rise from his hidden position, already planning the next operation. "Command, this is Ghost. Phase 1 complete. The enemy's morale is cracking. Request permission to begin Phase 2. The response came from High Command. "Permission granted. Show them why Earth's special forces are the things that nightmares fear. In the coming days, the mercenary forces would learn that this night had been gentle compared to what was coming. The human counter-offensive was about to begin in earnest. Marine Force Recon Captain David Torres studied the holographic display of the mercenary command ship through his neural interface. After 3 weeks of sustained guerrilla warfare, the enemy's formation had finally begun to show cracks. Perfect for what was coming next. "Strike Team Spectre, sound off," he whispered through the quantum-encrypted channel. His team, hidden within the debris field of destroyed ships, responded in sequence. Each wore the latest generation of stealth suits, technology that the rest of the galaxy thought was decades away from development. "This is just wrong," the message echoed through the mercenary fleet's command network. "We've lost contact with 3 more companies. The humans. They're not fighting like a civilized species should." Major Emma Valkyrie Sullivan smiled in the darkness of her stealth fighter's cockpit as she monitored the transmissions. "Civilized warfare," she mused to her wing, "is for those who've never had to fight for survival." The mercenary fleet had clustered their ships tighter together, a classic defense formation that would have been perfect against energy weapons, but humanity had other plans. "Execute Operation Ghostwalker." Commander William Bull Harrison's voice came through the command net. The signal set off a chain of events that had been weeks in preparation. Torres and his team activated their breach pods, tiny, single-use craft that appeared as simple debris to enemy sensors. They drifted toward the command ship, powered by nothing more than minimal maneuvering thrusters. "Multiple contacts," a mercenary sensor operator suddenly shouted. Energy signatures coming from everywhere. Sullivan's wings of stealth fighters had launched their decoys, thousands of small drones that mimicked the signature of full attack craft. As the mercenary fleet's sensors were overwhelmed, Torres' team made their move. "Breach point reached," Torres reported, as his pod silently attached to the command ship's hull. Beginning cut. The molecular disassemblers, another primitive technology that worked on basic physical principles, began creating an entry point. Inside the command ship, alarms began blaring. The mercenary leaders were already in emergency session, many arguing for breaking their contract and retreating. "The humans have violated every convention of warfare," one commander shouted. "They used deception, stealth, and psychological warfare instead of meeting us in honorable combat." "Honor." Torres' voice came through their own command network, sending chills through the alien leaders. "We're fighting for our homes. You brought this war to us." The lights in the command center went dark. When they came back on seconds later, Torres and his team stood among them. Having bypassed every security measure, the mercenaries had thought impregnable. "How?" the Vraxian commander started to ask, but Torres cut him off. "We've been studying your technology for decades," he said, his voice cold. "Every shield, every sensor, every defense. We learned your weaknesses before you even knew we existed." Through the command center's viewport, they watched as Sullivan's fighters emerged from their stealth runs, their primitive kinetic weapons tearing through ships that had never thought to shield against physical projectiles. "This is your one warning," Torres continued. "Break your contract. Leave human space. Never return. Because what you've seen." He gestured to the destruction outside. "This was us being nice." The mercenary leadership broke that day. Within hours, 7 of the 17 companies had declared their contracts void, accepting the financial penalties rather than face further combat with humanity. As Torres' team extracted, leaving behind a command ship full of thoroughly shaken alien leaders, Sullivan's voice came through the network. "Command, this is Valkyrie. Phase 4 complete. The enemy's command structure is compromised. Shall we begin the real counteroffensive?" The response from Earth Command was simple. "Execute with extreme prejudice." The mercenaries would soon learn that everything they'd faced so far had been nothing more than a prelude. Humanity was done playing defense. General Alexandra Iron Lady Reynolds stood before the assembled holographic displays in Earth's primary command bunker, her expression stern, as she surveyed the tactical overlay. The remaining mercenary forces had consolidated their position, gathering their fleets in what they believed was a safe distance from human space. "Commence Operation Thunderclap," she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's full military might. "Show them what we've been hiding." Across the solar system, massive structures began to emerge from their quantum-locked hiding places. Installations that had been cloaked for decades revealed themselves, each one a testament to humanity's true technological capabilities. Commander Thomas Maverick Cooper sat in the control center of the ESS Normandy, Earth's first true space carrier. "All wings, report in," he called as his ship decloaked alongside dozens of others. The vessel had been hidden in plain sight, disguised as a simple mining platform. "This is impossible." The mercenary fleet's communications erupted with panic. Their technology level, it was all a deception. The 101st Airborne, now revealed to be the 101st Orbital Drop Corps, launched from their hidden bases. Colonel Sarah "Thunderbolt" Matthews led the charge, her drop pod breaking through the sound barrier as it pierced the atmosphere of the mercenaries' forward operating base. "Remember your training," Matthews broadcast to her troops. "We're not just soldiers. We're humanity's message to the galaxy." The mercenaries' defensive lines crumbled as human forces revealed their true capabilities. Weapons they had dismissed as primitive suddenly showed their real purpose, each one designed to exploit specific weaknesses in alien technology. Major Kyle "Shadow" Matthews and his Black Ops team struck at the heart of the enemy's command structure. Their stealth technology, far beyond anything the mercenaries had believed possible, made them virtually invisible to even the most advanced sensors. This was never about matching their technology, Matthews explained to his team as they breached another command center. It was about transcending it. In orbit, Cooper's carrier group demonstrated why humanity had never abandoned the concept of fighter combat. Squadrons of Earth's latest aerospace craft swarmed through enemy formations, their hybrid drive systems allowing maneuvers that the mercenaries had thought physically impossible. "Look at their flight patterns," one mercenary commander observed in horror. "They're not flying like machines, they're flying like predators." General Reynolds watched as the battle unfolded according to plans laid decades ago. Earth had known this day would come, had prepared for it since their first contact with alien life. Every primitive technology, every outdated tactic, had been carefully chosen to lull their future adversaries into a false sense of superiority. "Send in the heavy elements," Reynolds commanded. The ground shook as massive war machines, hidden beneath the surface of Earth's colonies, emerged. Each one represented the perfect fusion of human ingenuity and reverse-engineered alien technology. To all enemy forces, Cooper broadcast on all frequencies, "You have 1 hour to surrender. After that, we stop holding back." The mercenary fleet's response came in the form of a mass retreat, their ships breaking formation as they fled from what they now realized was not prey, but a predator that had been patiently waiting for them to make this very mistake. "Should we pursue?" Matthews asked from her position on the ground. Reynolds shook her head. "Let them go. They'll spread the word. Humanity isn't just another species to be conquered. We're the thing that the conquerors fear." As the last enemy ships vanished into FTL, Cooper couldn't help but smile. "You know what the best part is," he said to his bridge crew. "We still haven't shown them everything." The message was clear. Humanity had not simply survived in a hostile galaxy. They had prepared, adapted, and now they would reshape the very nature of interstellar combat. CIA Director Jack Ryan Thompson leaned back in his chair, watching the holographic displays as reports flooded in from across the galaxy. The footage of Earth's counter-offensive had spread like wildfire through the mercenary networks, creating exactly the effect they planned for. Another contract cancellation, his assistant reported. The Sivgraxian battle fleet just withdrew their bid for operations in human space. That makes 15 major companies in the last week alone. The intelligence feed showed various mercenary groups frantically updating their operational parameters. Categories like high risk and suicide mission were being added to any contract involving human targets. In a smoke-filled bar on Station Omega-7, former mercenary warlord Krasthul drained his 6th glass of neutron whiskey. The scared veteran had watched the thunder run of the 3rd Armored Division firsthand, and the memory still gave him tremors. They let us think they were weak, he told the gathered crowd of hardened warriors. Every primitive weapon was designed to counter our most advanced tech. Every outdated tactic was crafted to exploit our weaknesses. We never stood a chance. Space Force Colonel Jennifer Phoenix Blackwood demonstrated Earth's first strike capabilities to a group of potential allies. The display was as much about diplomacy as it was about deterrence. Notice how the weapon systems appear simple, she explained, gesturing to what looked like basic missile platforms. That's intentional. Everything we build has multiple layers of technology, hidden behind a facade of simplicity. The alien diplomats watched in stunned silence as the simple platforms transformed, revealing arrays of quantum-based weaponry that their sensors hadn't even detected. Delta Force operator Brian Reaper Morrison had become something of a legend in the underground combat circles. Stories of his solo infiltration of the mercenary command carrier spread through the galaxy's shadow networks. The humans don't just fight wars, one mercenary commander warned his peers. They perfect them. Each soldier is a laboratory of combat evolution. Every defeat is a lesson they never forget. In the secure briefing room of the Galactic Mercenary Guild, the Leadership Council reviewed the combat footage for the 100th time. Every frame revealed new layers of human military innovation. Look at their supply lines, one council member noted. No quantum replication, no matter transmission. They still use physical transport ships, but they've turned that weakness into an impregnable defense network. Thompson reviewed the latest intelligence reports with satisfaction. The reputation they'd built was worth more than 1,000 victories. Now, the mere threat of human intervention was enough to deter most conflicts. "Sir," his assistant interrupted, "we're getting reports of mercenary companies attempting to hire human veterans as trainers." "Let them," Thompson replied with a knowing smile. "Every lesson we teach them is another layer of deterrence." The message continued to spread. Don't fight humans. Don't threaten humans. And above all, don't make them angry. The species that had turned their own technological disadvantages into unstoppable advantages was not to be trifled with. Krasthul finished his tale to the silent bar. "You know what the scariest part was?" he asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. "When we finally saw their true capabilities, one of their commanders told me something I'll never forget. This is just what we're willing to show you." The reputation of the Terran Menace had been cemented. Humanity had revealed just enough of their true capabilities to ensure that the galaxy would think long and hard before challenging them again. As Thompson prepared his final report, he added a note that would eventually become famous throughout the galaxy. The best defense isn't superior technology or numbers. It's convincing your enemies that fighting you would be their last mistake. Private military contractor Kevin Kingmaker Davidson walked through the pristine halls of the first human-led interstellar security corporation, his boots silent on the polished floor. What had started as a simple advisory role had evolved into something far more significant. The latest training results, sir. His alien assistant, a former elite mercenary commander, handed him a neural data crystal. The integration of human combat doctrine has improved squadron efficiency by 300%. Davidson paused at the observation deck, watching as former Army Ranger Lisa Artemis Henderson put a mixed group of alien special forces through their paces. The training arena below showed exactly why human military contractors had become the most sought after in the galaxy. "You're still thinking like space-age warriors," Henderson's voice carried through the observation glass. "Stop relying on your tech. Start thinking like a species that had to fight its way up from the mud." Nathan Wraith Campbell, previously of MARSOC, stood in the corporate boardroom of the largest mercenary company in the Orion Arm. The alien executives watched in rapt attention as he explained the new combat doctrine. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology," Campbell explained, his scared hands gesturing to the holographic display. "It's our ability to turn apparent weaknesses into strengths. We're teaching you to do the same." In the Strategic Command Center, General Robert "Hammer" Wilson reviewed the latest reports. The transformation of the galactic security sector had been more complete than anyone had anticipated. "Sir," his executive officer reported, "another 3 major companies have requested human training teams. They're offering triple the standard rate." Wilson nodded, remembering the days when these same companies had dismissed humans as primitive warriors. "Funny how things change," he mused. "They came to conquer us. Now they pay us to teach them." Henderson's training session reached its climax as her alien students finally grasped the concept of combined arms warfare, not as separate elements working together, but as a single integrated force multiplier. "That's it," she called out as the team successfully completed their exercise. "You're not just using the technology, you're transcending it. Think like humans. Every tool is a weapon if you hold it right." Davidson's corporation had become more than just a security company. It was a testament to humanity's approach to warfare. Every contract, every training session, every operation reinforced the lesson. True military superiority came from adaptation and innovation, not just advanced technology. "The latest combat simulation results are in," Campbell's assistant announced. "The units trained under human doctrine are outperforming traditional forces by an order of magnitude. In the field, mixed human-alien units have become the new standard of excellence. The combination of alien technology and human tactical innovation created forces that could handle any situation, any threat. We're not just changing how they fight," Wilson observed to his staff. "We're changing how they think about fighting. Every lesson learned makes the galaxy a little more stable." As the day drew to a close, Davidson stood in his office, looking out at the stars. His neural interface displayed the day's final reports: profit margins, training successes, new contracts. But the real victory was in the change they'd created. "Incoming message from Earth Command," his assistant announced. "They're ready to proceed with Phase 2 of the integration protocol." Davidson smiled. The galaxy had learned to fear human military might. Now they would learn to embrace human military wisdom. The new order wasn't just about power. It was about transformation. "Send word to all our training centers," he commanded. "It's time to show them what happens when you combine the best of both worlds." Admiral Sarah Steele Montgomery surveyed the graduation ceremony from her position on the stage of the newly established Terran Combat Academy. 5 years had passed since the failed Mercenary invasion, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. "Today's graduating class," she announced to the mixed audience of humans and aliens, "represents more than just military excellence. They represent the future of interstellar security." The Joint Chiefs had finally authorized the release of selected military archives, revealing why Earth had maintained its facade of technological inferiority for so long. The footage playing behind Montgomery showed the evolution of human warfare, from ancient battles to modern space combat. "We didn't hide our capabilities out of fear," she explained. "We did it Because we understood something fundamental about combat. The most dangerous enemy is the one you don't fully understand. Christopher Vanguard Brooks, now the leader of the Reformed Mercenary Guild, stood among the audience. His organization had been the first to fully embrace human military doctrine, and the results had been revolutionary. Each graduate here, Montgomery continued, has learned that true combat mastery isn't about having the best technology. It's about understanding how to use whatever tools you have to their maximum potential. In the training fields below, the latest generation of combat instructors put their students through their paces. Human veterans, once dismissed as primitive warriors, now commanded premium rates as military advisors throughout the galaxy. The human approach to warfare, a senior alien official observed, isn't just about fighting. It's about understanding the very nature of conflict itself. The ceremony reached its peak as Montgomery activated the holographic display, showing real-time updates from across known space. Conflict zones that had burned for centuries were now stable, protected by mixed human-alien security forces. Look at these statistics, Brooks pointed out to his fellow guild members. Piracy down 80%. Territorial disputes resolved through demonstration of force rather than application. The humans haven't just changed how we fight. They've changed why we fight. In the Academy's Strategic Command Center, the next generation of officers, both human and alien, worked together, combining different species' perspectives to create something entirely new. Our greatest victory, Montgomery declared, wasn't in proving our military might. It was in showing the galaxy a better way to maintain peace. The archives continued to play, showing how humanity had carefully orchestrated their reputation. Every primitive weapon had been a carefully crafted message. Every outdated tactic had been part of a larger strategy. The legacy we leave, she continued, her voice carrying across the silent auditorium, is not one of fear or dominance. It's a legacy of innovation, adaptation, and the understanding that true strength comes from learning from every experience, even defeat. As the ceremony concluded, Brooks approached Montgomery with a data crystal. The last of the old mercenary companies has joined the Reformed Guild, he reported. The transformation is complete. Montgomery nodded, remembering the days when the galaxy had thought humans were easy prey. Now, they were the teachers, the advisors, the architects of a new era in interstellar security. Send word to Earth Command, she ordered her staff. Tell them Project Legacy is complete. The galaxy hasn't just accepted human military doctrine. They've embraced it. As the sun set on the Academy, the graduates, human and alien alike, stood together, a living testament to how far things had come. The species that had once been dismissed as primitive had become the standard by which military excellence was measured. Remember, Montgomery's final words echoed across the parade ground. The greatest weapon in any arsenal is the ability to adapt, to learn, and to grow. That's the true legacy of human warfare. The end. Would you like me to expand on any part of the story or create another one in a different style?